You're listening to the Vacation Rental Success Podcast, and with over 1.6 million downloads, this is the place to be for all your short-term rental knowledge as part of the Vacation Rental Formula Business School. If you're a regular listener, you know Heather and the VRF B School team are now specializing in coaching and consultancy for short-term rental property management, and now with a laser focus on incorporating AI into your daily operations. If you're thinking AI sounds exciting but have no idea where to start, then you'll want to hear this. We're running a brand new series of free webinars designed specifically for short-term rental operators who want to get ahead of the curve without drowning in the tech overwhelm. Inside these sessions, we'll break down what AI actually looks like in a real property management business, from automating guest messages to leveling up your systems, marketing, and team operations. And if you've ever wished someone on your team could take the lead on all this, well, that's exactly what the AI Ambassador program is built for. The webinars will walk you through how it works, what you will be implementing, and why early adopters like you will be ahead of the industry curve. So pull out your notes app because you're going to want in on this. Visit the link in the description of this episode for more information or visit the show notes. Stay tuned as we'll talk more about this in the mid-episode break. So without further delay, here's your host, Heather Bayer.
This is the Vacation Rental Success Podcast, keeping you up to date with news, views, information and resources on this rapidly changing short-term rental business. I'm your host, Heather Bayer, and with 25 years of experience in this industry, I'm making sure you know what's hot, what's not, what's new, and what will help make your business a success. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. This is your host, Heather Bayer, and as ever, I am super delighted to be back with you once again. If you've been listening to our current series on training and development, you'll know we've been digging into what it really takes to build high-performing teams. And today, we're turning the spotlight on something that often gets overlooked. You know, when we're looking at training on software and all the technical side of it, we can sometimes overlook what can truly make or break your guest experience and your company culture, and that's those soft skills. So I'm delighted to be joined by Ali Cammelletti, who's a coach, speaker, and founder of Spark Your Mindset. Ali's worked with hospitality businesses for over 30 years. And she's been helping leaders and frontline teams develop the kind of emotional intelligence, communication, and self-awareness that elevates not only service, but the entire team dynamic. So in this episode, we'll unpack what soft skills actually are, how they differ from hard skills, and why they're absolutely essential in short-term rentals right across the board. It doesn't matter who you're training. These soft skills are equally important for everybody in all of your teams. So whether you're leading a remote team or you're onboarding new staff, or maybe you're just trying to reduce some awkward guest complaints or owner issues, you're going to come away from this with a better understanding of where the gaps might be and what to do about them. Ali has some fantastic stories. She's got practical tools. She's got coaching strategies to help you start leveling up your team this week, even if you've never considered yourself as a coach before. So I'm super delighted to have with me once again today, Ali Cammelletti from Spark Your Mindset. Always a pleasure to hear you and see you, Ali.
You as well, Heather. I'm so excited for our conversation.
I think it's going to be a great one. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about training and development, different things about the whole business of training in our industry, something that I'm sure you will agree with me is pretty much overlooked in many cases. So I'd like to just kick off, Ali, with just asking you to share your story with the audience. There may be some who have not heard of you. So I'd love to hear the story of how you got into this business and why you do what you do.
Yeah, so I have been in hospitality for 30 plus years. And I am one of those crazy people that actually went to school for it. I have a degree in hotel restaurant management. And right out of the gate, even before college, I was already in hospitality, always in hospitality, every little piece of it. And I grew up around it. I grew up around my grandparents who were travel agents way back in the day when that was a thing. And I just really enjoyed connecting with people. And so that's really been my passion for hospitality. And as I've worked in the different areas, whether it be restaurants, country clubs, as well as resorts, hotels, etc., and then I owned my own event planning business. Yes, that was lovely for 9 years, and taught hospitality at a local community college. And then I taught for Le Cordon Bleu for about 1.5 years as well. And then the company I have now, Spark Your Mindset, I have had for about 12 years. And I consult specifically with vacation rental companies.
That's lovely. So when going back to what I said right at the very beginning, that training and development is something that's pretty much overlooked. How much do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like it is the first thing to go if anybody is having any financial strain or the pandemic, right? In the industry, vacation rentals, people didn't know how to handle what was happening. Nobody knew how to handle what was happening, but they got super busy. And I had 1.5 years vacation, basically, a maternity leave I never took. And yes, it's the first thing to go. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I remember this going back years and years. I had a training job in customer service at Reader's Digest in England. And it was training I took over from somebody who had been laid off about 3 years previously because it was the first to go when there was some issues. And then I got the job. So it always felt tenuous. I'm going to be the first one to go. And I know when I talk to people around the Vacasa area before they were acquired by Casago, again, training was the first department to be shredded when Vacasa began to experience issues. So it's sad, but it's true. But we are here to bang the drum, really, of making training and development something that's foundational, that should never be overlooked. And I know that you teach a lot when you do your consulting. You can work with companies. I mean, you work a lot with soft skills.
Yes.
So let's begin with that. What exactly are soft skills? It's not about learning how to use Breezeway. It's not about learning how to use Streamline. It's something entirely different. And this is something, again, that seems to be given little attention. So what are soft skills and how do they show up?
I learned soft skills, I want to say probably 16 years ago, per se. And it was when I was working for a technology company. And how I learned what they were was basically like hard skills are point and click, right? You speak of software. Go here, click this. You get a drop down, select that. Soft skills are how we handle our conversations. And at the time I was working with Navis, where we would go in and we would teach the software. So we taught hard skills, and then we would teach soft skills as far as how do you communicate to people? How do you make conversation? How do you create connection in those calls? And Brené Brown would say, they're really core human skills is what they are. And there's a lot of noise out there about how soft skills are really hard skills because they are the hardest to learn and can be the hardest to teach.
Yes, because it's almost, when you think of that soft skills and how you communicate with people, how you create relationships, it's almost, this is my personality. This is a personality thing. If I don't have it, I'm going to have, how can you teach it? So we're going to go into that in a minute, but I'd like to identify some of the key soft skills that would make the biggest difference from somebody on the front line. And I'm not talking about just reservationists, but frontline is cleaners, maintenance people. They also have communications with guests, with owners. It is everybody in a vacation rental business. Even if somebody doesn't deal with guests and owners on a day-to-day basis, they deal with team members as well. And I guess those core soft skills are as primary with team members as they are with our other stakeholders.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It comes from the top. And it's empathy. And I talk about it all the time. I've been talking about it for years. It is having empathy. And what I see is the setback when I go in and I talk with people about this. They're like, I don't like to be talked to about have empathy and get all warm and fuzzy with me. And That's what holds people back from really making that shift to growing that emotional intelligence, is they get set in their way of, I treat people how I want to be treated. Now, let's take it up a notch. Heather, you and I are very similar, but we might want to be treated differently. And so recognizing that and being able to identify that everybody's different. But if you just treat people how you want to be treated, you're going to miss the mark a lot, and especially if you don't have any empathy. And I feel like we might have touched on this before, if we really need to go into that, they say right brain before left brain way of thinking. And I call it, we always empathize before we educate, no matter what. And so if somebody calls in and they're frustrated and they're standing in front of the door and they want the lock code, it doesn't have to take 2 minutes per se. It can take a couple seconds. I'm so sorry you're experiencing this. I want to help you. Tell me more what's happening, right?
What happens when you do that? What happens to that other person when they hear empathy from someone else?
They relax. It's like they can breathe. Oh, I feel validated. Because we're in a very judgy world, right? And so it's just the reality, as Brene Brown says, we're humans, we like to judge. And a lot of people, I find that they try to work on their judgment. I do. I'm human. I judge sometimes. And so instead of being like, are you kidding me? This person can't figure out how to get into the house. Because that's what maybe the person on the phone is. And the person that's calling in being like, why can't I get into this house? What's wrong with me? And instead, just being like, validate them. Oh, I'm so sorry. I do understand this can be challenging sometimes, right? And so they relax into it. They feel seen. They feel connection. And that allows them then to quickly move on to hearing what the next steps are. But if they're not validated and they feel there's attitude or projection from the other side, it's going to be harder for them to hear the next steps.
Tell me what you mean by projection.
I want to say projection is, oh gosh, what's a good example of it? It's your stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It's you projecting your own biases instead of being able to kind of sit with somebody and get their point of view and take in what they really need.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced this or maybe it's just me, when I've had technology issues and I've spoken to somebody in support. And I think it's a bit like doctors who don't have a bedside manner.
There's many of them, yes.
Yes. They're really great at what they've been trained to do, but they're missing that piece that says, I need to understand what this person is feeling, what emotions that they have, rather than thinking, oh, for goodness sake, get a grip. You should understand what this is about. I think we've all been through that situation where we can't get into somewhere. And you bring it up. That's such a common problem, accessing a property.
Oh my gosh. It is so common. I had it happen this week and I felt so silly about it too. Because I got IT support on and I'm like, I want to do this virtual strength training class, but it's not letting me. Heather, it was me. I was supposed to click the box. I'm like, it's right there. Why do you have to click it? I already see it's there. It should be in my cart. And I want to listen to you because I want to make it easier though. I can't be the only one that is messing this up. And you're not. I'm going to make this easier. And he went to the extent of fixing it and emailing me and letting me know that he fixed it. We move so fast. And we want things just to know what they need to do.
It sounds like he had that empathy. He hooked into the way you were feeling, your frustrations, and made you feel better. You said something really important there. You said, I felt silly.
Felt silly. Yes.
Yeah.
And he was so good about not making me feel silly. And I was very impressed because there is a mindset with engineers or techie people that not always their strength, just like you talk about doctors, right? Because they're like, oh, you should know this, right? And I have a guy that helps me. You should
know this because I know it really well, so therefore you should know it.
I have a guy that helps me with the computer, and every time I feel a little silly after leaving from him, but he always fixes it, so I keep on going back.
Yes, and a lot of times we do stand for people not being empathetic because they are doing the job.
Yep.
But in hospitality, there's a high expectation of continuing to feel good because generally we're on vacation. And I think I've been in customer service for decades. So, that's something that was hammered into me from the very outset, is that these people are on vacation. They want to feel good all the time. If they're not feeling good and you can make them feel better, you're allowing them to continue their enjoyment. But if they don't, because you're not empathetic, then they're going to go away in a different frame and not enjoy their vacation as much. How do you teach these skills, Ali?
It's time. It takes a lot of time. I use a lot of different methods. One, I want them to be able to look at themselves, which isn't always easy. And I've talked about that I bring in saboteurs, and I bring it in for a reason so that they can see how they might be getting in their own way.
You bring in what?
Saboteurs.
Saboteurs. Okay, explain.
So saboteurs, and when I think of hospitality, where they can get in their way, is perfectionism. It's called the stickler. And another one could even be victim. Like, oh, I get all these calls. People are complaining all day long. And so you have your own attitude of how hard it is for you, instead of going to that empathetic place with people of, we do not know what's going on with people. And this world isn't easy. And we are in some times that are not easy for a lot of people. And so I talk to them a lot about seeing it from other people's perspective. I also give them podcasts, articles, homework, and we continue to talk about it. Sometimes it clicks quickly. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes it's just a statement. I have this one gal that I had been working with, and she said, what really shifted me is just looking at people in a different way, that you never know what's going on with them. She goes, that changed everything for me, Ali. It's not a one size fits all. It depends on the person. And that's what I love so much about what I get to do, is like the best jigsaw puzzle you've ever had, because you never know what is going to resonate with someone to help them shift.
You're familiar with John DeJulius and the Customer
yes.
Service Revolution? Of course you are. Because that's when I read that book, and in fact I'm sure you were there at the Verma conference years ago. Well, I've never forgotten his keynote. And I went out and got his book, and it's probably there's notes on every page and sticky notes. There's so much good in that book, and I will put a link to it at the end of this. But he said something that really impacted me, and it was about looking at every person and saying, you don't know what's going on in their lives. They may come at you with anger, but you don't know that they had really bad news 45 minutes beforehand.
Yep.
And you can say it's not your fault. It wasn't my fault that he had
Yep.
bad news, but it's your responsibility to be aware of that and to react accordingly. And reacting to anger and I'm going to go into that in a minute with you about reacting to anger, but it's such a key soft skill. So just with that in mind, so thinking about a soft skills gap in a team, what kind of issues or guest complaints can actually be traced back to any missing emotional intelligence or communication or poor communication skills?
I think about when I am working with people, and I can listen to a lot of call recordings often, and the person says, you never said you were sorry or something. Maybe that person actually did, but they didn't give it enough time. They blew right through it. And so that person's still stuck in that anger state. They call back often, right? They give a bad review, or they have multiple challenges when they're staying there. Because we know in hospitality and what we do, when that first issue happens and maybe it's not handled the best way, what can happen is that they'll constantly be looking, the guest will, for more issues. And they'll be calling more or complaining more because the first opportunity wasn't handled the way it could have been.
We used to call it, when I was in property management myself, the and another thing syndrome. That if somebody had an issue that wasn't dealt with well on the first go, there would always be another thing.
Yep.
And there's another thing. Because, and they tend to stack one upon the other, which is exactly what you've just described. So going back to guest issues and complaints, how do you help people to understand perhaps where they've gone wrong in a call and what they could do better the next time?
I wholeheartedly believe in self-scoring. So the people that I work with, I recommend that they score calls themselves. They go in and listen to calls. They get to choose the calls depending on the platform. Sometimes I'll send them a couple calls to listen to, and they get to choose which one they want to score. And we will break it down and we'll listen to it together. And I'll say, stop right there. Did you hear how that person's voice changed? And they may be like, I do now. I did not then. And I'm like, yeah. What do you think you heard from that? And lead them to the place of did not spend enough time with them and they felt defeated. Like the person that calls in and says, this is my first trip since my husband died. And I just don't even know what house to book or how to even do it. He did it all. The person...
Oh, that's loaded. What a loaded...
It's huge. And I've heard this before. And the person on the other side might be like, the heck do I say to that? I don't know how to handle this. You don't have to say that much. Really. Like, just bringing that in, taking it in and being like, this must be really hard. I can't even imagine. That's it. And then let's talk about things you enjoy. And they might be like, I don't even know what I enjoy. Your therapist sometimes on these calls. But if you just completely railroad right by and be like, it sounds like you need a 1-bedroom. And we have some water that you can look at while you're here. I'm like, oh my gosh, no. The person took off their mask and got vulnerable with you and you just kept going. But they don't know what to say. And so I have a list of empathy statements that I recommend. I'm like, find the one that works for you. I don't want you to sound like a robot. But I want you to start playing with these statements and seeing where they can fit into your conversations that feel right for you.
Can you give us some examples of empathy statements?
One, like I mentioned, is I can't imagine what this must be like for you. It is honoring them. Yeah. I can understand how frustrating it is when you're going to book and you think that you already selected the home and that's it, but then you see all of these additional fees. When did I love that somebody came up to me in a conference once and said, I have the answer to all of it. I'm like, please tell. And she's say, I'm going to partner with you. I'm like, yeah, I do love that. Like, I can understand how frustrating this is going to be for you. I am happy to partner with you on this. Then they feel like you're not working against them. They're not asking for too much, but you're in it together.
How do you do that without it sounding scripted?
Oh, it's tone. It's believing it. It's embodying it. Because I have listened to calls where I had a manager come to me and she said, Ali, I don't get it. Conversion's down, but she's hitting all the call scoring. It didn't take me long. I listened to it. I'm like, yeah, there isn't any heart in anything she's saying. She sounds like a robot. And they're like, oh, like they hadn't even thought of that. I'm like, yeah, like I want some heart there. I want it to make me feel like I am the only person you've talked to today. And you are excited to help me and have me experience a wonderful stay when I come and spend time with you. That's what I want.
So we're talking sort of customer service and sales at the same time. And
Correct.
It seems like they should be separate. So you have somebody deal with all the softy side of the customer service. And the other side is, I'm going to sell you something. I want to make this sale. How do you draw both of those together so that you're going to make better sales because the customer service is in there?
And a lot of companies do separate them out per se, but there's always overflow calls where they're going to have to be selling if they're guest services, or salespeople are going to be taking guest services calls. So I feel like you should always be mixing them together. But in the end, for me, this may sound simple, but being a good human in what you're doing, right? You're not motivated by the sale per se. You're motivated by their experience. You want them to have the best experience. It's not about what incentive plan you have, and that, oh, if you book this one, you're going to get an extra $50 this month, because that comes out. People are going to taste it and smell it and feel it, and it'll go sideways.
Yes, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think we've all been at the end of that type of call. And that's all you want is just to get the sale, get me off the call so you can get on to the next one.
Yep.
And yeah, it takes me back to Best Buy in the early days when all their team were on commission. And you could tell, I need you to buy this right now because there's somebody over there looking at something. I can see it out the corner of my eye and I need to go to them before my colleague gets them. I remember that. And then they changed it and it made a huge difference because it felt like you were being helped rather than sold to. Training this. I keep coming back to this. How do you? So let's go back to call scoring because I'm really interested in that. So you've got them doing self-scoring.
Yes.
So what happens if, so should they do it at the end of a call, or do they go back and spend time outside of their general working and go into sort of a training environment and listen to their calls and then score them themselves? And then what do they put in place? What do you give them to make them better?
When we are able to identify ourselves, what somebody else is telling us, I think the shift happens, right? Because I can tell you all day long. I can sit with somebody and be like, so empathy is important and this is how we do it. But I do believe it's important to ask people, right? And so I'm a fan of, in a perfect world, they wouldn't do it right after the call per se. I don't think that's realistic in the vacation rental environment. Set aside time. And that's when I want them to work on their homework per se, right? I give them articles, I give them podcasts, and they do takeaways and send it to me. But then I have them listen to the call, and they use the same scoring rubric that I use. So I use it as a calibration too, of I'm scoring you and this is what I'm hearing. Because if they bring it to me and they're like, 100%, and I'm like, so let's listen to it together. And then I'll ask. So for the greeting, you had put yes. Did you ask them their name and repeat it again? No, I guess I thought I did. Yeah, okay, so let's just change that. I lead with asking questions in everything I do. That's the goal, instead of just me one way telling. And it takes time, and it doesn't happen fast. With call scoring, it's very limited that I've had somebody instantly. I have had those experiences where they change so quick. It takes time for them to really make those changes. Because we're humans, sometimes they want to change it all at once and they themselves. And they're like, I don't want to talk anymore. I'm like, yeah, pick one thing. Don't pick all 10. Just pick one. Only focus on that. And you get to choose. What do you think you can focus on? And they're like, oh, I can do travel insurance right now. And that's all I can do. I'm like, great, do that. So I let them lead, and it's a partnership and a lot of ebb and flow. And then that's when the shift happens. But it takes time. And a lot of coaches, per se, or leaders in organizations don't always have the time or patience to do it.
We want to take a quick break here because if you're running a short-term rental business today, you've probably felt it. The industry is moving fast. Faster guest expectations, tighter margins, and now a wave of AI tools that promise the world. And if only someone had the time to figure them out. That's exactly why we built the AI Ambassador program. Think of it as training your very own in-house AI leader, someone on your team who knows your business, knows your systems, and can take the lead on implementing AI in a way that actually saves time instead of adding more noise. Over 8 weeks of live training, your ambassador learns how to uncover bottlenecks, evaluate pain points, map how work actually gets done, and identify where AI can make the biggest difference. They'll build effective prompts, create AI-powered SOPs, strengthen team communication, and choose the right tools to make daily operations smoother and more efficient. Then they get 9 months of group coaching to keep the momentum going and help you avoid the "we learned something cool but never used it" trap. And because so many managers are asking for support right now, registration for our next intake is officially open. And if you want someone in your company to confidently lead the AI transition, instead of everyone guessing their way through it, this is the moment to step in. The truth is simple. Early adopters here will be ahead of the industry curve. Register for our upcoming webinar series using the link in the show notes to get some quick AI wins and a taster of what your AI ambassador will become a master of. Trust me, this is the kind of hour that pays you back every single week.
That leads me on to the question that not everybody can hire Ali Cammelletti and Spark Your Mindset to come in and do this wonderful work with the team. They're going to have to do it themselves. Let's go into the difference between training and coaching, because you've mentioned both. So when it comes to soft skills, how do the two approaches differ? Are they different? And is one more effective than the other if they are?
Oh, I'm a coach, so I believe in coaching. And coaching, to me, it's always asking questions, right? I was talking recently about a new manager that the leader is going to be training. And I said, so how are you going to train them? And they're like, oh, I'm going to do this and that. Okay. I said, so what if when they come to you, you ask them to give you two options and how they think they should handle it? Always two. And he's okay. And I said, and then you vet out the core values of which one touches on which core value in that option, right? It's okay. I like it. Because with those leaders, we want to bring them to a place where they are focusing on the core values first, but also you're not always giving them the answer. People don't learn when you just give them the answer all the time and they come back to you every time. Mm-hmm. So for new reservation managers that maybe they're not comfortable coaching, I coach the coach with them, how to coach, how to ask questions, and have them be really reflective in how they're communicating with the person that they're coaching. And the importance of we empower the people we're coaching. At the end of a coaching, I'll ask them, I'll say, hey, I think I want to give you some homework on these areas, but what do you want? And they might be like, Ali, I'm just really struggling with being patient with people in the day. Like, I have so many things to do and they come in, they ask me questions. I just want to blurt it out and move on. I'm like, okay. So let's give you some homework on mindfulness and let's see how that goes until we meet next. But it's really bringing them in as the partner to have them lead that coaching. Then they own it.
Because it's always tough in any property management company because the leaders have probably been used to wearing every single hat.
Yes.
Because that's usually what they started with. And I talk to a lot of property managers who have all this stuff in their heads. They don't share it out. They don't have it written down. And that's when I think frustration can grow within them because it's like, it's in my head. Why is it in yours as well? So it's that way of getting that knowledge out and doing it in such a way that makes people feel valued, right?
Yeah, and I hear that all the time. It's faster if I just tell them. I said, the first time it is. The second, third, and fourth, because they don't do it every day and they haven't been doing it for 20 years. So if you spend that time the first time, then they feel empowered. Like they don't have to go to you every time, or they're scared to go to you, so then they just make mistakes.
Yeah.
Or the boomerang, you delegate it once, but you didn't check in, comes back to you and you just do it.
Yeah, I was guilty of that for a long time.
I'm guilty of it at times.
Yeah, because it's just, it's easier if I do it myself. It's easier, it's quicker, but just taking those few minutes just to establish that they've understood what you're saying. And I think that whole idea of asking questions instead of telling may think it's going to take longer, but it's of so much value because you won't have them coming back and asking those repetitive questions because it's gone in. Let's go with another example of somebody that continues to ask questions all the time. And you think, I've told them that before. Why can't they take it in? Could you give me an example of how somebody could coach a team member into not doing?
I would say ask them to write it down, create a SOP on it. Big fan of when you have a new person starting and maybe you haven't vetted out your training or you've only vetted it out partially, have them be involved with building the training because they're in it right then.
Yeah.
yeah, they don't know what they don't know yet, but they're going to learn it because they don't know what they don't know yet, and they'll know when they stumble and stuff. But I've heard that before where they're like, Ali, seriously, something's not right with this person. I've told them 5 times. They are not getting it. I'm like, okay, so let's do it differently then, right? We don't want to do the same thing because that's insanity. I always wonder too, I'm like, is there something else going on? Yeah, I go to that place, Heather. We know that grief can make us really foggy.
Mm-hmm.
Female hormones can make us really foggy. And anymore, I feel like people are just moving so fast that makes them foggy. So spending that time and even maybe having them show you while you tell them, right? Back the second time. Then being like, let's go do it together. Why don't you show me your process to find if there's a glitch somewhere? Or if there's something that's just getting in the way, right? Mm-hmm. They're blowing through calls. They're moving fast. They just can't slow down. What is the hiccup? How are you starting off that call? I'm about like, let's come around it like so many different ways. But I think that not everyone has the patience to do that. And that's what gets in the way.
Yeah, and it's patience, it's time. There's something else out there. There's another phone ringing. Or you can hear somebody else on the team taking a call that is not going so well. And yeah, I've been there and understand that. So for somebody who wants to start doing this, who wants to start coaching some soft skills, they don't have any formal training, what is a simple first step that they could actually take with their team this week?
It's a good question. I think it would be, 1, ensuring that you're having like weekly or every other week meetings one-on-one. And then we use AI. Put in ChatGPT. I'm going to start coaching my reservation sales agent. What are some questions I should ask them? And really lead with asking questions. How are you feeling about what you're doing? Where do you feel like you might want to grow? Have them get on board and focus there first on ask them.
I love that you bring up AI and ChatGPT because I don't think we all know it's out there. Yep. But I think sometimes we get overwhelmed with work and forget it's out there. Forget it's there to actually make life easier for you so that you can focus on the things that really matter. And I love that, just saying, I'm not sure that this team member is dealing with anger issues from guests or owners very well. What questions? Just ask, as you say, ask questions. What questions can I ask to elicit what might be the issue? And my thing is talk to it, use voice. Because if you sit there trying to type stuff out, you start to second guess, or am I typing this outright? So much better just talk to the platform.
I
just
will
hit that
say,
microphone
Heather,
button and start talking.
Yeah, I use Gemini for that on my phone. But I had a client where I had coached somebody for a little bit of time because they wanted me to gauge, is this person worth investing in? I'm having some issues. And I had done a follow-up report at the end, comparing some things and my thoughts. And yeah, I can be soft in how I say things. I'm not always totally direct. Yeah, I think you should pull the cord. This leader put it in AI and sent it back to me and said, does this feel accurate to you? And I looked at them, I'm like, yep, did a real good job about reading between the lines. Exactly. And they're like, thank you.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot out there. And you just got to go onto LinkedIn to see I can see that you've been using AI. So what?
Yeah.
So what? It's incredibly useful. And if you're stuck, just go and try it out and just ask a few questions. Just make sure you just don't take everything at face value. Yeah. Use it as just a nudge, just to give you some options as to where you go next. Let's talk about remote working just for a minute. If you're using VAs or remote workers, particularly a lot of people are using virtual assistants in the Philippines to handle their Airbnb inquiries out of hours. How can you coach soft skills when you're not with them in a face-to-face situation every day?
You have to do Zoom. You have to. I don't believe that you're going to move the needle at all if you don't make that time, FaceTime with them. A lot can be lost in translation. Understanding the cultures you're working with. There are some cultures out there, they don't believe in asking questions at all. How in the world? I've tried to train them on asking questions until I learned that this culture literally does not believe in it. They're always supposed to have the answer. So that means they're not going to be humble on that phone if something goes sideways, right? And they're not going to ask questions in sales. And I'll say, I don't recommend that person to be doing sales. Sales is all about asking questions in what we do in vacation rentals. So if you want them to answer emails and you want to give them templates and you want to monitor them very heavily, that's a good option. Yes, there's people that that are out of the box, but I think it's knowing your demographic and what you're working with and get on the screen with them.
Yeah, it's a great suggestion. I've gone through quite a few VAs over the years from different locations, and you're absolutely right. Just check out the cultural norms in communication. And I know there are places where they don't ever want to be wrong. They don't ever want to do something wrong, so they'll do anything to please and to please you. Won't call out anything that perhaps they don't feel is quite right. Yeah, very worthwhile. Before we wrap up, Ali, I just wanted you to share a story or an example of a vacation rental business that you've worked with where you've seen this coaching have a real tangible difference.
Oh, I have been working with a leader, and there were some things that came up as far as team members weren't really respecting and weren't connecting. And we were probably maybe 2 or 3 months in, and we were seeing that trust was an issue, right? They were struggling with trusting others, and people did not trust them because of it. And I do go by that belief system of we have to trust people to get trust. And it was rolling through some past learnings they had on how to work with their team to build trust. And they shifted. And it happened quick. And it was really beautiful.
That must be so rewarding to actually see that shift.
That is why I do what I do. I tell you what, it makes my day. It totally makes my day. I did have another company where I had gone in and I made some big recommendations. And by the time I left working with them for 1.5 years, they hadn't made it. The owner called me probably 4 months after. And I want you to know we made the changes. I was like, oh my gosh, you made my day. You did? She's, oh yeah, this happened. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited for you. I can't wait. What's going to happen with your company? Like big things. This is amazing. I know it took us a little bit of time, Ali.
Oh, that's fantastic. I hear a lot of great things about what you do.
Thank you, Heather.
I am sure there's plenty more stories. I had another question before we finished up, and it's gone right out of my head. Oh, yeah. So you've talked about you giving people articles and books and podcasts. And could you recommend some for our listeners to go out and look for?
That's a great question. So Cy Wakeman has been one of my recent favorites, and she just handed her baton over. It's CYWAKEMAN. And I saw her speak a keynote at this conference, and I just really have enjoyed her content. She handed it over to a gentleman named Alex. I don't remember his last name off the top of my head, but she's one of my go-tos always. It amazes me people that still haven't really experienced Brené Brown, and I utilize her a lot. I do love the podcast, The Diary of a CEO.
It's one of my favorites,
Right?
Absolute favorites.
Oh, I love it so much. And I know some of these are long, and people are like, oh, in the world, it's 2.5 hours. I'm like, I know. It's going to take time, but it's worth it. I really customize what I give people based on what they've said they need, and I search. So I don't totally cookie cutter it, but those are a few of my current favorites, I'd say.
Yeah. As I say, I'd add in The Customer Service Revolution, John DeJulius.
Oh, yeah.
As a really great book too. And it's so easy to read as well. For our listeners who'd like to take some action today, can you give them a soft skill reflection practice or a coaching question they could use to start making some progress right away? Whether it's something internal, something they're asking themselves, or something that they might ask of somebody else.
I would say listen to calls together if you're doing guest services or sales, and ask the person what they hear. Would be a coaching. For themselves, it's mindfulness. It is pausing, I would say, is the biggest one. Like when somebody comes to you and says something, pause. And often, I'm sure you've heard me say this, Heather, I'll say, tell me more. I say that a lot. I want to really understand. Instead of just, you already know what they're thinking or where they're going, and you're going to go there because you're in a hurry. No. We're in a fast-paced world, and slow down, take the time. I have a leader that she likes to go and sit in the kitchen and have lunch when everybody comes in. I love that. Take time.
Yeah, that seems to be a theme that's gone right the way through this conversation, which is slowing down, taking time, reflecting. And that's a discipline that I think a lot of leaders have a struggle with because there's just so much to do. There's so much out there. I've got to do this, and then I've got to go there and there. But taking that time to slow down, reflect, I think that's a great message that's come from you today. And I really thank you for joining me and sharing this. And I think while we're here, Ali, I think we should begin to mention what we're doing for VR Nation.
Yeah, of course.
So would you like to, because you're spearheading this, let's start a little bit of a promotion of what's to come in April.
Yes, so Heather has been right by my side here in this process. We are a year into this right now of developing a platform for education for the vacation rental industry. And we have covered a good amount of areas, and we are going to be releasing pieces coming up in April. It'll be live for members, and then my understanding is if you're not a member, you can pay for it, but it is a benefit to the members. And Heather and I and Alexis Miller have been working on customer service and sales, so that'll be the first module/pillar per se that's very robust with a lot of content. We cover guest services, reservation sales, as well as homeowner acquisitions and homeowner relations. And then we also are going to be releasing safety. And so it goes into guest safety, cleaning safety, employee safety, and then marketing. So those will be the first three that'll release in April, and then we're just going to be continuing to release that. And we're doing our best to give all different types of ways to learn, right? There's videos, there's documents, there's worksheets, there's templates, there's resources, and then there's a knowledge check, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been exciting to work on this project. It really has. But what gets me is the caliber of the people that have become involved with this. You're going to hear from Sean Kemper from ETI Solutions, and now I'm going to get stuck on names, and Justin Ford, of course, and come on, give me some more names that we can share here to get
Nick Massey. Nick Massey is doing insurance, and he has got that dialed. He is the insurance piece, and that will be awesome. As far as marketing, we have Hannah from Realtech, and we have Julie George, and I hate when I talk about names because I'm going to miss somebody. We have Lauren.
Yes, I've started that.
And revenue management piece. I mean, we have RevProf in there helping out. Heather Richer. We have Amber Prickett from Price Labs. Like, we just have really robust people. And I got to say, this is a labor of love. that everybody is giving, because it is not easy and it's not quick to do what we're all doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it always is difficult when we are sharing names, because with me, I know there's that person,
Yes.
and it's just not coming to mind right now. So we will be releasing a lot more information as we go ahead over the next couple of months. But because we're just reaching the end of our customer service and sales section, I just wanted to share that because I'm excited about it.
I am too.
Okay, Ali, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with me. I really enjoyed talking to you, as I always do. And we're actually meeting later on, so I'll see you in about 2 hours. But for now, thank you for joining me. I'll make sure that there is information in the show notes on Spark Your Mindset, and with all your contact details if anybody wants to reach out, and I strongly recommend that you do.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate you.
So that's it for today's episode, and I hope you're walking away with a fresh perspective on the role that soft skills play in your business. As Ali reminded us, it's not just about systems and checklists, it's about how we connect with our guests, our owners and our teams. The ability to listen, empathise and communicate clearly can be the quiet power behind a standout guest experience or a thriving workplace culture. If today's conversation got you thinking about where the gaps might be in your own team or even in yourself, take that cue to start small. Just ask a reflective question, begin a coaching conversation, choose one skill to focus on this week. So you'll find links to Ali's work, resources and more in the show notes at vacationrentalformula.com/podcast. So head over there to check it out. And if you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, I'd love it if you'd take a moment to rate and review the podcast on your favourite app. This helps more people in our industry to find us and grow stronger businesses too. So thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week as we continue our deep dive into training, development and building winning teams in your short-term rental business.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. And before we wrap up today, I want to remind you, if you've been feeling that nudge that it's time to get ahead with AI, don't ignore it. The operators who lean in now are the ones who will be leading the market 12 months from today. Our free AI webinar series is your chance to see what's possible, get practical examples, and decide whether someone on your team should step in to that AI leadership role. It's simple, actionable, and built for real-world STR operators, not tech experts. The link to register is waiting for you in the description of this episode on your smart device and in our show notes. Go grab your spot now.
It's been a pleasure as ever being with you. If there's anything you'd like to comment on, then join the conversation on the show notes for the episode at vacationrentalformula.com. We'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to being with you again next week.